How's it going there, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another exciting Game Thrifter video. You know, even though the original Xbox doesn't have a lot of backwards compatible games on the Xbox One or One X or Series X or Series S, the amount of games that they have, a lot of them are enhanced completely for free. So I think of that as a very cool thing as well. I wanted to kind of list a group of games that are 4K actually on the Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, and these are original Xbox games. They look great. Like, that's the cool thing about the original Xbox was, believe it or not, some of the games already supported some HD resolutions, and now, thanks to the backwards compatibility program, we get to play some of these games in high resolutions, 4K, some of them frame rate boosts as well. A great reason to own a current Xbox. I know there's kind of expensive now, but even an Xbox One X can play these enhanced, and I think that's really cool. So today we're going to go over some original Xbox games that are in 4K on a Series X or a One X. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and get started. First up, we're going to talk about the sci-fi game Advent Rising. This game was originally supposed to be a trilogy of games, but you know, it didn't really do as well. But thankfully, thanks to backwards compatibility, you can play it and it looks good. This was sort of a precursor to Mass Effect, in my opinion. It was Mass Effect before Mass Effect was a thing. And, you know, the story is really well done. I think it takes a little bit to get used to the controls, honestly. But overall, I enjoyed the story. I think that it looks great and it plays great. And thankfully, it's got a story that's pretty easy to kind of understand. And once you get the controls down, I think it all becomes much clearer and just a much more fun experience. So I don't think that this is a game that, you know, got a fair shake back in the day and things like that. But if you just look at it, you can see it looks incredible. And the sci-fi story itself is one that's pretty darn good. Originally, this was also a game that was doing like $1 million giveaway, and I think that's pretty cool that they were going to do that. Of course, I don't think anybody actually won that. What you're seeing is just some footage from my playthrough on the Xbox Series X, and you can see it looks fantastic, and I just feel like they did a really good job with the game itself. It's one of the best looking games that I think I can find on the original Xbox, playing it on the Series X, and I think if you're into like sci-fi and if you like Mass Effect and those type of games, you'll probably enjoy this game quite a bit. Next up, another great looking game, Mercenaries Playgrounds of Destruction. This game came out in 2005. Third-person action-adventure shooter kind of game, was actually developed by Pandemic Studios. They did the Star Wars Battlefront 2 games as well, so it shows you sort of what's going on there. This was actually a very cool game that came out, and it was set in like a fictional war-torn area where players control elite mercenaries working kind of executive operations, you know, sort of like the best of the best, as it were. So basically, that's kind of what you have to understand playing in this game. It's basically got an open world sandbox to it, emphasizing like a lot of freedom and destruction, which you have to remember, this is an original Xbox game, even though it looks so good here, but there was a lot of freedom and things that you could do in this game that you couldn't do in other games, which was very awesome. It had very much destructible environments. A lot of the bridges, buildings, vehicles can be completely destroyed. They have their own unique animations and things like that, which was very difficult and new at the time, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. You can hijack vehicles. You can also, there's different kind of things that you can do as well. You collect different things. There's a lot of collectibles. You earn cash from contracts. This game also takes a pretty good long time to beat if you're into like doing a completionist story, 15-20 hours, something like that. And again, game looks great, it plays great, it holds up incredibly well, and 4K looks amazing on my Series X. Next up is a game that I think the first part and the second part are getting remakes, but yeah, Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, third-person shooter. This was made by Remedy, who did also, of course, the amazing Alan Wake, the original Alan Wake, which was really cool. This is kind of a film noir sort of story as well. It's really an amazing game that looks fantastic, native 4K as usual. You know, this is actually, you know, both of them are 4K, both of them are backwards compatible. I put this one in here just because I think it's a little bit more complete and I really enjoy it. but obviously it's basically a linear type game, third-person shooter. There's 21 different chapters. There's some that kind of are a little bit quicker than others as you progress through the story. A lot of gritty environments and things like that, kind of scavenging for weapons and ammo. The cool thing is, these are some of the games that really employed the bullet time. Basically activates on demand and kind of regenerates. It basically slows down your enemies while allowing normal aiming and movements and things like this. You can also chain kills to extend it and stuff like that. Yeah, really cool the way that they were able to kind of do this and get everything out there. This game isn't like a huge game that's going to take you a long time, maybe 10, 11, 12 hours tops, but it's got a worthwhile story, and like I said, it looks great, and the way that they've kind of put everything together makes it worthwhile playing through on the Xbox Series X or an Xbox One X or whatever the case may be. It's just a fun story, good revenge story thrown in there as well, and it plays fantastic. Up next, one of the more unique games from Rare ever, which is Grabbed by the Ghoulies, and this game didn't do particularly well at all, right? I don't think it was very understood very well in terms of the type of game it was, but nowadays you can look back and kind of look at it fondly. This game came out in 2003, action-adventure, kind of beat 'em up. It had some odd controls or whatever. You could compare it to, if I was going to compare it to anything, maybe Luigi's Mansion a little bit. Kind of cartoonish jump scares and little QTEs and things. You're basically kind of seeking shelter from a storm, and you end up in this house, and there's a mad scientist, and your girlfriend gets kidnapped. And it's just one of those things that kind of happens. I mean, we've all been there, right? You go in there, you're looking for a place to dry off, and stuff happens. Anyway, it's basically a linear type of game. You kind of go into this mansion. It's divided into different chapters. The doors are locked. You got to complete the objective, basically complete all the enemies, and then the doors become unlocked magically. And your health kind of resets every room that you go in. The interesting part is getting used to the controls. So left stick moves, right stick aims. As well as the directional punches. So you do like the punches, kicks, and combos, and you can tap and hold for chains, grabs, and throws, and things like that. So that's a very interesting aspect. It does take you a little while to kind of get used to it, but once you get used to it, it's not that bad. Unfortunately, I think that's what kind of really holds back some of the original Xbox games, and just older games in general, is the control schemes can be a little bit much and harder to get a hold of. But I still love the art style of this game, think it's fun. It's got a lot of cool jokes into it as well, so well worth picking up and playing. So if you're enjoying the video, please take a minute out to like the video, share it out, subscribe, and even comment. If you love retro game content, then you've come to the right place, and I once again want to thank everybody for hitting 10,000 subscribers. That's absolutely amazing. Remember, if you want to subscribe to a channel that specializes in Bort license plates, you found the right guy.
Plates? Barclay, Barry, Bert, Bort? Oh, come on, Bort?
Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Are you talking to me?
No, my son is also named Bort.
Next up is an awesome game called Psychonauts, and this game looks amazing. Yeah, the unfortunate side is that it's not formatted for widescreen, but it's still a cool looking game, and it's a game that is absolutely incredible. Kind of going to a camp for psychically gifted people. There's a lot of interesting kind of gameplay elements to it, using and utilizing your psychic abilities and stuff. And I think one of the cool things is that this is a platformer that has gained a bit of a cult following lately. So after all, I think that the second game actually helped people appreciate the first game a little bit more. And yeah, there's a second game as well that's out on like Xbox and like PlayStation. And that game is absolutely phenomenal as well. But for the terms of this game, I think that it is just really amazing in and of itself. It's got a really heartfelt story with I think good messaging too. So a platformer, puzzles and things like that. Not too difficult puzzles though. Just kind of basic ones, and a very good story as you go along, learning your different moves and psychic abilities and things like that, which is always awesome. And like I said, this is a game that kind of has garnered a bit of a cult following, and for me anyway, I think I look at it as a must-play game. Like, this is just one of the better games on the original Xbox, and so many people don't even know about it. So if you were ever wondering, hey, is this a good game, and you like puzzle platformers or platformers with heart and a really good story, then this is going to be one that you're going to want to pick up for sure. Next up, this is actually a launch title, Oddworld Munch's Odyssey, and I think this game looks really good, right? Like I said, this is a launch title, so the aspect ratio, of course, isn't going to be for widescreen, but for a game that's, that old, it looks great. It holds up much better than me anyway. Basically, it's a platformer puzzle game, and it's a typical kind of Oddworld game in my opinion, which these games used to be actually like 2D, if you remember back on the original PlayStation and stuff like that. This game was actually originally planned for the PlayStation 2, but they rebuilt it for the Xbox due to hardware issues and a Microsoft exclusivity deal, because at the time Microsoft was looking to get games exclusive for their platform, their new console that they were launching. They needed launch titles, and so the rest is kind of history, so to speak. So the basic kind of gameplay is there's linear levels, you blending a lot of different platforming and puzzling and some stealth. You can switch characters to access different areas and combine your abilities as well. Munch can like swim and operate cranes and recruit followers and things like that. So that's really kind of cool. And overall, I think that the game is just fun and interesting, right? So this is really cool as well. It says originally that it is something that is a game that a lot of people kind of can get into, and if you're looking for like a more of a classic throwback to a puzzle platformer that's going to be like 12, 13, 14 hours, this is a good game for that, right? Very creative game. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun even today, and by today's standards it's a lot of fun. So if you're into the Oddworld games or into puzzle platformers, give it a whirl. Next up, a super controversial game, which is Manhunt. This is a stealth-based survival action game and was actually done by Rockstar, of course, so it's pretty polished game for that. Anyway, this was actually launched a little bit later on for the original Xbox with improved graphics over the PS2 and things like that. The PS2 version actually launched first, almost a year earlier, and then the Xbox launch came a little bit later, and of course because it had the better hardware, better textures, models, and things like that. And it also supported mic support at the time for distracting enemies with voices, and it actually did a lot of different things. But anyway, there's a protagonist in the game who's like basically someone who's on death row, and he was part of a fake execution, and then they set him up in this sort of area where you have to kind of hunt other players. It's very linear though, level-based third-person stealth action. Progress you cut kind of through different scenes by killing all the hunters. It mostly kind of prefers that you do it stealthily, but you can try to do it a different way if you want as well, and I think that's really cool. There's different weapons like improvised melee. There's all kinds of different brutal things in there, so keep that in mind as well. This game will take you like 9, 10, 11 hours to beat if you wanted to go through it, but it's got a very dark atmosphere. It's not something that I recommend for everybody, but it does look pretty good, and like I said, they managed to kind of get it to do like the whole 4K thing, and it's got an interesting kind of story. If you're someone over 18, for sure, you might want to like try one of this game. Maybe you think it's tame by today's standards, but back then, man, this was super controversial. Up next is a game that I think looks incredible. Even you could maybe compare it to indie games this generation. I think it looks great, but Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, this game came out in 2003, but look at it. It looks absolutely incredible. This is me playing it on the Xbox Series X, sort of inspired by ancient Egyptian mythology. It has dual protagonists in it, so semi-non-linear, not too bad. It's not fully open world, but it is definitely more open world than some games, which I think is really cool. The gameplay itself is kind of cool because you do like these quests with some exploration in some huge worlds. There's puzzle solving, there's platforming, there's fighting, there's stealth, and depending on which protagonist you are, depends on what you do. You collect items, and it's got a really good balance of action, platforming, and puzzles. Some people maybe compare it to a lighter version of Zelda, which I can understand that a little bit. Which I think is really cool as well. So the Sphinx has sword melee and shields and things like that, and can double jump. The Mummy, there's no combat whatsoever. Playing as the Mummy kind of basically can activate panels and things like that. So yeah, a little bit interesting there as well, kind of that they're doing different things. So at least they're not kind of doing the same gameplay over and over again. It actually gives you a reason to play as both characters, which I thought was kind of cool. So anyway, overall, like I said, looks great, plays great, handles really well, fun story, and well worth your time if you want to play through it, which I think most people should. The game will take probably 12, 13, 14 hours to beat if you want to complete it. So again, not an overly long game. Next up, a really cool game, Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. This game came out in 2003. As you can see, they've done a really good job. These games look fantastic. I know that YouTube kind of compresses things, but overall, like, these games look amazing. The cool thing about this game is, even without the update, if you just played this on the original Xbox, the Xbox version was the superior port with better graphics and performance over the PS2. This game is actually set in 1935. And again, it's really, really cool to see that Indiana Jones is back. This is a third-person game, so unlike the newer game, which I love, by the way, this is a linear 10-level structure. Explore destructible environments, solve puzzles, perform different things. You can fight people. You get health kind of through the water fountains in a canteen. There's only checkpoints at the start, which can be a little bit frustrating. And there's different difficulties that you can kind of scale through as well. You got his iconic whip, which is awesome. You can kind of jump through gaps and things and disarm and pull enemies, and you get like a pistol when it goes into like a first-person mode. Mostly it's a platformer puzzler, so you kind of jump around, rope swing, swim. There's like different things. It can be a little bit twitchy sometimes with the controls, but overall, pretty cool. And you can beat this game in about 16, 17, 18 hours, something like that, depending on how fast you want to get through and get some of the different things, collectibles and artifacts and whatnot. But yeah, a fun game, looks good, plays good, and this is just one of those games that is really fun to play on an Xbox One X or a Series X. And I know some of you might not think it's a big deal to kind of get the older games free enhanced and that kind of stuff, but here's Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. What you see on the left is running on an Xbox Series X, native 4K now, and what you see on the right is the same game running on my PlayStation 2. And as you can see, like, I think the PlayStation 2 version would look fine on a old school TV, like an old tube TV or whatever, but if you're playing stuff on a new TV, it's always great to have the updates. As you can see, the game looks absolutely incredible on the original Xbox version, right? And this is, like I said, gameplay on my Xbox Series X. And I think that people probably don't understand just how good a job they did. There was no code touched or anything like that. They just went out and did a fantastic job making sure that you kind of get these free updates. And it's kind of like magic in my opinion. But the really cool thing about this game is, I know a lot of people probably think, oh well, it's just a movie license game or whatever, it's not very good. This is an excellent and very underrated Star Wars game. And it's cool because there's actually alternate endings. So you could do like the ending that's actually canon, or you could do the ending that is one that sees Anakin defeat Obi-Wan, despite the fact that Obi-Wan had the high ground. I guess it doesn't really matter in the game. But yeah, really cool to kind of see that and to kind of be able to play through the game and just enjoy it as a Star Wars fan. And as you guys know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and this is just one of the cooler ones in my opinion. So yeah, definitely worthwhile picking up, especially on the Xbox if you have the option.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Speaking of Star Wars, maybe the best Star Wars game ever is also 4K thanks to Microsoft, and that is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, also known as KOTOR. Like I said, this is probably one of the best games of all time. Not just Star Wars games, but maybe one of the best games of all time. The twist in the end, figuring out who you are. I don't want to give it away too much, but it's just one of the kind of things that's like a chef's kiss, really. And they did such a good job with it. I think the fact that, it starts off and you kind of build yourself up and, and it has a lot of traditional RPG things that affect the outcome of the game, whether you want to be good or bad. Your appearance, for instance, changes depending on if you do good deeds or bad deeds. You can choose good force powers, bad force powers. You kind of build your own lightsaber, pick your own colors for your lightsabers. Very customizable, very much just an amazing RPG. And this game, along with like the original Halo, were reasons why I bought an Xbox in the first place. Just absolutely fantastic. And it's still a game that I like to play through every year almost. It's like it's just, you can't really beat it. And I think that's what's great about gaming, is you play these games that just leave these marks on you, and you just enjoy them. And this was when gaming was just so amazing, and Star Wars content was amazing. Like, this game itself and the story is better than anything Disney related Star Wars wise. So if you've never played KOTOR, give it a try. It is an absolute blast. It's fantastic. Probably one of my top games, and trust me, if you play it, you're gonna love it. It's amazing, and you're gonna be putting a lot of hours into this game. And kind of want to leave it with Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's a lot of other Star Wars games that are 4K as well, but I feel like this video has already taken up a lot of time. So Battlefront 2 looks great, it plays great. You can do like the Galactic Conquest, like the campaign and stuff like that. You can't play it online anymore, but again, I know they re-released these and remastered them or whatever, but I actually think if you just want to play through the campaign, you can play it here, and it looks amazing, and it's even like got the widescreen format and all that kind of stuff. And I actually think that it might even look better than the remaster itself. But Star Wars is always such a great thing to play, and thankfully through backwards compatibility, it's brought new life to a lot of great Star Wars games that maybe people haven't played, because it's hard to believe. And I know sometimes for me it is. There's people that were born after after the original Xbox came out. Think about it. That thing only had a lifespan till 2005 when the Xbox 360 came out. So 20 years, and people could be 20 years old and have never played some of these games. It's a great way to experience them and just have a good time with it. Star Wars Battlefront 2, the first Battlefront, is also backwards compatible. There's just a lot of fun to be had. This is one of those games that I think just withstands the test of time, and there's just so much cool content in here to really enjoy. So if you like Star Wars and you have Xbox One X or a Series X, get this game, man. It's usually on sale. You can get it pretty cheap, and it's so much fun. And there you have it, a fantastic list of 4K original Xbox games that you can play on your Xbox One X, your Series X, whatever the case may be. I just hope you guys have a good time playing it, because these games, they really withstand the test of time, and they're so much fun, and the free enhancements make them all the more worthwhile, in my opinion. Being able to kind of play these games on a modern TV, and you're not really missing much in terms of, is this game going to be fuzzy? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? The games are going to look good and they're going to play good, and I just think that's awesome. So if you guys enjoy this video, like I said earlier, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. It helps out the channel tremendously, and be kind to each other in the comment section. And as always, just have a great day. Game on, my friends. Game on. I'll catch you next time.